Hi, I'm Elisa Parker, and we're broadcasting from the Wild and Scenic Film Festival. It's the largest environmental film fest of its kind in the United States, and been connecting with extraordinary everyday environmental action heroes, as I call them. We're based in Nevada City in Grass Valley, California. And with me, I'm so excited to introduce, I have Jennifer, who's the filmmaker of Hearts of Glass. We also have Kyle joining us, who works at Vertical Harvest, and Joelle, who's also working at Vertical Harvest, in addition to a nonprofit we're going to talk about that kind of spun out of that. So welcome. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, Lisa, thanks for having us.
Totally. Welcome back, Jennifer.
Thank you. I'm addicted to this festival.
You are addicted to it. How could you not be addicted to Wild and Scenic? I know, it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite events of the year here.
Well, they make you feel like family, which is quite lovely indeed. Right. Especially when you're a filmmaker and you've been working in your little hidey hole alone for a long time, and you're craving social interaction. And yes.
Yeah, it's important to come out and connect, especially connect with other people who are doing awesome films like you are.
Oh. Thank you. Go on.
I'll keep going on. Films. So Hearts, yes. And have you seen some of the films?
Yes.
So far you did.
Yes.
What's one that you saw, Kyle? Or what was it about? Do you remember?
Yes, the blind guy who sailed down
Oh my gosh, The Weight of Water.
The Weight of Water.
Amazing film. The filmmaker, Michael Brown, so he also climbed Mount Everest.
Yes, in the film they show,
Unfortunately, he couldn't be here because his kids, I'm sure Michael's like, oh great, everyone knows, his kids are sick, so he couldn't be here.
Of course.
But on Hearts of Glass, this is another one of my favorite films, actually. It was one of the first ones that I watched. And I've told so many people about it. Who wants to talk about Hearts of Glass? And we're going to talk about Kyle's involved with it, but just what it is, like what you're growing there, what it looks like. It's in Jackson, Wyoming.
Yeah, so Vertical Harvest is basically like a
sci-fi
utopia.
A sci-fi utopia.
Don't you think?
Let me just put it a little bit in perspective. So,
Okay, she's gonna put it in perspective.
Hearts of Glass is the film which covers the first 15 months of Vertical Harvest's operation, and Vertical Harvest is
a 3-story hydroponic greenhouse, vertical farm.
3-story hydroponic greenhouse.
Yes.
And Kyle, what kind of produce are you growing at Vertical Harvest?
We are growing lots of different types of lettuce, cherry tomatoes, which we call Teton tomatoes, and 21 different varieties of microgreens.
Now, this Vertical Harvest has become an integrated part in the community in several ways. Jennifer, can you tell us about what that's looked like, both for the community, like the restaurant owners, for example, and how they're supporting the growth, which, by the way, you know that this produce does not grow year-round, typically, and there's a short growing season in the outdoors in Wyoming, so this is pretty phenomenal, what it's doing.
Yeah, I think at our latitude, and we're at 6,200 feet, more or less, the soil is frozen for many months of the year. So, this is just, as I see it, sort of another tool in the toolbox of growing locally. And, there were 3 co-founders who sort of came with the idea of Vertical Harvest, and the first part of the idea was around year-round local produce for a mountain town that didn't have year-round local produce. And then there was this the interesting architectural, because when you look at the building, the greenhouse in the film, it is kind of jaw-dropping how beautiful and modern it is, and it is chock full of technology. And then there was this other component to the idea of Vertical Harvest was, if we're filling this community need, could we also address another community need, which is meaningful, competitively paid employment for community members with disabilities? So they're really attempting, this is a bit of a, what do we call it? It's an experiment.
It's an experiment,
yeah.
Which much of what we're doing here really is.
And a demonstration.
It seems like it's been successful.
Yeah, I think it's been a successful demonstration project. But I will let Joelle speak to that.
Joelle can speak to how that's been formed and what's come out of that too.
Out of the success. So we've been open now for about 2 years, and we always knew that the plants were going to grow, but we definitely had some difficulties and challenges troubleshooting the Dutch systems, the Dutch hydroponic systems that were retrofitted specifically for our building and specifically for the use of working with people with disabilities. So our lettuce carousels, they rotate along the south-facing facade.
Describe what that looks like too then, the carousels, like on the 3-story level, so people have an idea.
Yeah, so basically when you walk up to the building, you'll see about 2 stories up, lettuce basically falling down the front side, the south-facing facade, just capturing all of that sunlight. And then it comes back up and it actually enters inside the building. So it makes this unique sideways T, if you will, coming in, which essentially gives us a 4th floor to the building. And then above that, if you step back a little farther up top, you can see all of the growing tomato vines.
Right.
Yeah.
So each floor is a microclimate in a way. The 3rd floor is where the tomatoes are. 2nd floor is
lettuces and the
microgreens, and there are also some microgreens on the
first floor now. Yes,
right.
And
And a retail store, a small retail
Right,
store
in the market. And Kyle, we were just talking off the air of some of your roles. Tell us what you're doing at Vertical Harvest now. I mean, Jennifer just mentioned the market. Are you working in the marketplace?
Yes, I am, somewhat. I also work in the office and in packaging.
What do you love most, Kyle, about working at Vertical Harvest?
The interaction with my fellow employees.
We met Johnny last night, and he said that was one of his favorite parts about working at Vertical Harvest too, was his friendship and companionship that he's made. So that's a big part.
I also think it points up, what we take for granted about employment. It does provide a lot of meaningful social connections, and that's easy to forget. And, when there's a population that is not having those opportunities for employment, that's something to remember.
Right. And Joelle, tell us about how your role has been in this with Vertical Harvest, with the nonprofit that's come out of that, and then working with individuals like Kyle and Johnny.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So Cultivate basically, Kyle and I started actually working together, just training about what is local food, what's the local economy before the building was built. And then when the building was built, we all went in and I put my farmer hat on and helped set up a lot of the growing systems. But then I went back to education when we found out that I just was really the natural trainer and could come up with really creative solutions for these guys to learn and and learn and create an expertise, if you will, in that field. And now we have an inclusive employment model. There's about 30 people at Vertical Harvest, and 17 of them have a disability. So this idea of inclusivity has really brought the positive culture that Kyle is talking about, and a lot of rewarding moments for me as well, just as the main trainer on the ground. And a lot of other businesses have came to Vertical Harvest sort of asking, hey, we would like the same model. How can we get this?
What do you tell them around that? Yeah.
And then Cultivate, which is the nonprofit, grew out of that. And so that's what Cultivate will be providing in the future, is
That's
this
awesome.
advisory for human resources, customized human resources.
So now what Vertical Harvest has helped grown is this has grown out of that, and now it's helping other organizations, companies within the community in Jackson, Wyoming. And probably even beyond there. My guess is you have other people visiting too now, especially after this film, Hearts of Glass, that will want to come learn more.
Yeah.
Kyle, how has being part of the Vertical Harvest team, how has that changed your life?
More friendships, I think. Obviously, the employment.
It must feel really good to get like a significant paycheck, right?
Yes.
To be independent in that way.
And Kyle, your creativity. I mean, you were the one that put a haunted house together through the greenhouse.
No
Yes,
way. You did a
yes.
haunted house?
Yeah, it was a big deal. Doesn't look like a greenhouse
That has
when it's a
excellent
haunted house.
So you're really creative too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far, even in the marketing team.
Yeah. It's
I
true.
came up with like 2 different characters.
He scared the G's there.
What was he doing? Just scared.
Well, it was they turned Vertical Harvest into a haunted house
Yeah.
for 2 nights,
For 2 nights.
and charged admission. And I love scary things, but whatever his character was, and I couldn't really. It was really dark. I couldn't identify.
What was your
I was
character,
like
Kyle?
super scared. It was creepy.
Well, this year it was a surgeon.
Oh, a surgeon.
Yeah, so he had
Bloody
a
surgeon.
gown on, and he had blood all over him, and he was, I don't know.
Wait, and was this your idea? Having the haunted
Yes.
house? Oh my gosh. Well, what a really unique and fun way to involve your whole community, and also a different way for them to get connected to Vertical Harvest,
Exactly.
right?
And I think get back at the filmmaker who had a camera in your face for whatever 15
my
months.
gosh.
Like, I'll scare her.
That's
I'll get back.
that was his whole thing. He was like, we're gonna do a haunted house,
And I'm just going to wait for Jen.
Exactly.
I think she's going to show up.
So you live in Wyoming?
I do.
Wow. Okay. So this is like
I
part of
practice
your life.
local filmmaking. They're locavores with food, and I am saving the world by only making films within a 40-mile radius of my
love
house.
that.
So you're welcome.
So well, and we're lucky because we get to see them outside of your community.
You are lucky.
We are. I'm so lucky. How do you tell? So I had someone on earlier that was talking about the financial sustainability of filmmaking. So knowing that you're focusing local, what is the key for your success to help sustain this in the filmmaking projects, the process, so that you can just remain local?
Well, in the past, I've always partnered with nonprofits in my community to do independent production, nonprofits whose mission is in line with the themes of the film that I'm working on. Now, I'm sure there's some people who can promise a return on an independent documentary, but I really don't.
Haven't found that one yet. The return is the usually the campaign or the result, the actions.
Right. And, making films are hard, and there are some films that people, get funding for and can't finish or don't finish. So I think it's very important to have some completion around that. But, so I've partnered with nonprofits to get it done, and then everybody can take a tax-deductible donation and feel like they've contributed to something. And with this film in particular, we're committed to a really robust outreach and engagement with the film. So we're working on partnerships and
it's
community
all about
screenings.
Partnerships.
Yes.
In fact, that's a big part I know for filmmaking and just everything in general that we're looking at. But both with branded content, partnering with nonprofits, right? So you're helping to get the message out, or for profits.
Yeah.
And then having the significant message around there, like what you have with Hearts of Glass. It's such a great story. I love it. Are there going to be other buildings like this, do you think? And
Yes, there will definitely be other buildings. Yeah, there's requests on the daily from communities around the world. Like we would love to replicate this. So we really look at it as more of a demonstration garden.
Right. Kyle, would you ever live anywhere else? Like if someone was building another prototype of this?
I would.
You would. Where else would you want to live?
Somewhere warm.
I was going to say, I'm hoping somewhere warm. Oh my gosh, watching the film Hearts of Glass gets I was like, it's so beautiful. And then it's like negative temperature.
And then Snowmageddon hits. And
Snowmageddon. That's intense.
Yeah.
Well, I love the film Hearts of Glass. There's so many great takeaways. Thanks so much, Jen, for creating the film, aligning with this partnership, and helping to make it happen. There's so many great ways in discovering this about growing food, about incorporating our community, around incorporating and engaging all of our community with competitive living wages, feeding our souls, our bodies with good food. It's like that's the whole thing. And as Kyle, as you said, the companionship, the friendships, and community, big part. It's been great to have you guys back here, Jen, and welcome to Wild and Scenic Film Fest.
Thank you.
Yeah, great to have you. I'm Elisa Parker. We're broadcasting from the Wild and Scenic Film Festival. 17 years of this incredible festival. We'll be sharing more stories coming up.